What is the happy haps, folks? Joe of All Vapes coming at you. Once again, if this is your first time checking me out, thank you very much for joining me. We're going to have a wild ride tonight, guys. We're going to be talking about something new to most, hopefully something old to some, but we're going to break it down all the same. Do me a favor, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter. I'll be doing my thing over there as well. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Augvape Boreas V2 RTA. Plenty of personal buzz for me, at least, with this RTA, because here's the thing. I really actually do not like RTAs. Out of all of the ones that I have ever tried, there are probably two that I can give any type of props to. The one is the Ferro RTA, the OG RTA from Rip Tripper. The other one is the Boreas V2. And, you know, I'll kind of get into the specs a little bit and some of the reasons as to why I dig them and why I don't. Number one basic reason, I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree with me, most RTAs leak like a sieve. I mean, it's just juice fingers all the way, you know what I mean? And there's nothing more that I hate when you got a 5 milliliter capacity RTA and about 3 milliliters of it dumps out from whatever point A that you fill it to point B where you unscrew it off your mod and call it good and stick it back in its box and shove it in a drawer and forget about it. Plenty of space on the build deck with a really decent just overall build. It's attractive, it's functional, and it just works, okay? So enough of me blathering on. Let's get into this and show you the ins, outs, thick and thins, and pros and cons of the Augvape Boreas RTA. Alright guys, let's get into this. The Augvape Boreas V2 RTA comes in this little cardboard tube, Augvape right on the top, and we spin it around. Check out the standard configuration. One piece long glass tube, one piece short glass tube. That is going to be the difference in the milliliter capacity. We will get more into that. You get a little bag of accessories and one little Allen key. So without further ado, let's break this open. Here is your handy dandy little Allen key, one of about 50 bajillion, which probably all of us have. And we're gonna pop out the Boreas V2. This is the bad boy that you are going to be getting. Just kind of take a little bit of an outward appearance look here. Got the knurled drip tip adapter, really dig that. Bottom airflow, incredibly simple to manipulate, as you can see. The piece, all of this pretty much just completely comes apart in several pieces. Makes it really super easy for cleaning, and the drip tip comes off pretty simply, as you can see. Now there's going to be a little bit of residue on this, as you're probably going to note, because I did have to give this guy a proper test before, you know, just showing it to all of you. Designed by Augvape. Boom, there we go. Okay, so let us check out what comes in the rest of this tube. We're going to take out this little rubber sleevelet here, and down there is your little bag of goodies. And this is your long glass tube. Now, when attached, the long glass tube, which is the one that is already attached to the Boreas here, will give you a milliliter capacity of 5 full milliliters, which is pretty standard. This is where the short glass sleeve comes in. If I can actually get it out, there we go. And as you can see, there is definitely a difference between the two. Now, the short glass sleeve is actually going to give you a milliliter capacity of 2.5 milliliters. So for those of us that, you know, just, you know, have a lot of different ADVs that we dig, we can put the little itty bitty short glass tube on here. So right now what I'm going to do is take this apart, just kind of piece by piece, show you each and every little detail. The one thing I really like about the drip tip is the knurled top. It makes it feel really super comfortable on your lips. It's a little bit of an aesthetic viewpoint as well. A lot of people that I've talked to and seen online tend to really dig the knurling on the drip tip. The upper cap here, as you can see, has some vertical indentations that make it just a little bit easier to unscrew. Now, every concurrent piece, as you will see as I begin to take this apart, is separated by these rubber O-rings, which keeps a nice tight seal on everything. As you can see, this is a top filling RTA, which makes it really super convenient, and everything sort of just kind of falls apart at this point. So this is the airflow adjustment sleeve. As you can see, that completely comes off. your bottom portion here comes off, and then you're left with the build deck portion. And yeah, there's a little bit of residue going on there, as you can see, a little bit of cotton that I had left. So obviously I've had a couple of coils pre-mounted onto this. And what I basically wanted to show you is the design function and form of what you're working with. It's a 2-post design with 4 different post holes. What I have done was taken a couple coils that were positioned, one positioning downwards, as you can see, facing down, and the other one facing up, basically just to make them about as even as possible. I didn't really want to go with like a diagonal formation because considering the amount of space that I have here for the cotton holes, I wanted to make this as linear with the entire device as possible, just to make it simple, super simple when threading the cotton through here and making sure that the wicking was going to come through solidly. Okay, so setting that aside, we're going to look at the interior cap that goes over the build deck. You've got a pretty nice size capacity right here. A lot of RTAs that I've seen in the past have an issue with the inside of the RTA deck build cap interfacing with the outside of the actual coils, which a lot of the time will just cause a short, and you'll come up with, you know, just really funky tasting e-liquid, because eventually you're just going to have a little bit of backfire on there, you know what I mean? And nobody likes the dry hits. And as you can see here, you've got the chimney portion again with one of the little rubber O-ring gaskets, making sure everything is nice and tight and where it needs to be. The top portion here comes completely off, and there is your long glass tube. So what I'm going to do is take the long glass tube aside, and I'm going to show you how you can turn this from a 5 milliliter capacity to a 2.5 milliliter capacity. Here's the cool little aspect of this. Check this out. This little chimney comes apart. Oh, another little rubber gasket. There goes another piece that I'm never going to find, right? There we go. So that pretty much drops it immediately down. You got your 2.5 milliliter capacity. We take the top portion back. So we're going to take the air intake sleeve and reposition that right there. We're going to take our bottom build deck, and if you can see a little bit, it's so dark with the black anodizing here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's little square indentations right here, and there's another one right there. Little bit hard to see, but what you have to do is line those indentations with these little slots, one on one side right here and one on one side right there. And you basically just kind of line them up like that, and it just clicks right into place like that. Okay, so that makes it really super convenient. Screw the bottom portion right back into place, okay? Still got that simple, easy airflow control. And then take the top portion, the top cap, screw that right back on. And then we have the drip tip, once again, boom. Instant gratification to a 2.5 milliliter capacity. And we are going to mount some cotton onto this. Okay, so today, for those of you that are curious, I am working with Kendo Vape Cotton. This is the gold edition, the pre-spun stuff. I'm gonna take one into my little rat tail and just kind of pull it through. The one thing that I have had to learn over time is that you definitely don't want to basically load your cotton through these little intake holes and just leave them hanging out. You don't want to wad them too far and too deep in there, because one, you're going to have wicking issues. So what I do is I load it through. I do give it a little bit of a tug through the little wicking hole here. And then what I do is I kind of wiggle a little bit back in. And we'll take the other end as well, kind of squish that through. Now the reason I pull it through and kind of wiggle it back in is basically just to ensure that it's loose enough that it's not going to prevent flow of e-liquid, but it is still pretty much staying where it needs to stay. Because you do want this to fill up these side holes enough to prevent the e-liquid from just pouring through. We definitely don't want that. I've tried to deal with that issue with plenty other RTAs of this design, and it was a learning curve. Everything's a learning curve. If you're lucky, you actually learn from those experiences. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of pre-saturate this guy. Okay, total juice fingers at this point, okay? So, this is what I'm going to do, is just give it a little bit of a fire. and then take a little bit of juice, dab it over the top of the coils here, and this really just kind of helps saturate everything in to the cotton. Okay, so that is nice and saturated. Let's start putting this together to start looking like a respectable RTA once again. And like I said, the little shorty glass tube will give you about a 2.5 milliliter capacity top filling. And there we have it, guys. It's not a full 2.5 milliliters, as you can see. It's not totally full, but enough just to kind of get us going here. So I'm gonna attach this guy to my mod and check the reading just because I'm anal, even though we've already done that once or twice. Yep, still pretty much at the exact same place that we were at. Bring the camera up and we will give this guy a little test drive. Okay, so 60 watts we've got on this guy. The juice, gotta love the juice. But here's the good thing. The juice that I got on this mod and on this Boreas V2 did not come out the air intake holes. Really, really cool aspect of this. Now, here's one really good way to check and make sure that your RTA is leak proof. Use it. Actually give this guy a try, because whether or not it's a 70-30, a 60-40, or even an 80-20, 90-10, doesn't matter how thick or thin the viscosity of the VG to PG ratio is. Once you apply heat to this guy, the viscosity of the thickest VG is going to break down, thin out, and come pouring out like rushing waters out the air intake. That is what causes the majority of even some of the best designed RTAs to leak. That, and of course the fact of just defective manufacturing. Excellent air intake. I can actually take a full breath without pressing the fire button, just with a full open air intake, completely open on both sides of the valves. So that's really superb. And the one thing that you can't see, obviously, is that positioning is key to everything. Where the air intake goes is directly over the side and right over the top of the coil, which is absolutely perfect. Remember those little slots on the bottom mounting base and on the inside of the top cap portion that goes over those two coils where we had to kind of line them up to fit them in properly? There was the design and purpose for that, to make sure that the air intake goes directly over those coils. So I'm busting out about 60 watts, like I said. We're gonna break this up to, let's go up to 70 watts, just to make it a little bit warmer. It's really, really super flavorful, amazingly compact with the awesome different design from the little shorty glass tube to the long glass tube. Now, when I originally started testing out the Boreas V2, I used the long glass tube. Basically, one of the reasons I wanted to start out with that one is because of the higher milliliter capacity. Not for convenience of the fact that I just wanted a lot of my ADV in there, but to make sure that the added gravitational pressure caused by the additional amount of e-liquid was not going to increase the possibility of leakage. Having tested out the long glass tube and finding absolutely zero leakage, I actually took this thing out, laid it out on its side throughout the entire evening, woke up the next morning and zero e-liquid had leaked out. As you can see, the air intake valves completely open. Nothing is pouring out, completely nothing. Even if I just kind of dip it up and down like that, it's a really, really decent design, and by far probably the first RTA of this particular design with those little wicking holes that does not leak all the way down the mod. I actually get to vape my favorite ADV and keep it all in the tank right where it needs to stay. I am elated when I try a product fresh right out of the box and it works. It functions properly, it works right off the bat. I will sing its praises forever, and the Augvape Boreas V2 is definitely one of those that I'm going to be singing the praises of. So if you get the opportunity, definitely check out Augvape. Follow the link that I provided below and you'll be able to check this guy out for yourself. I definitely believe that you will not go wrong. You'll get a lot of enjoyment out of the Augvape Boreas V2. Thank you so much for joining me for this review. Once again, if this is your first time or you're returning fellow fan, friend, follower, family, whatever, definitely consider subscribing here to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram as well. Give me a follow there because I do most of my work on Instagram and I pretty much post on Twitter once a day, if not several times a day. So definitely check me out. Give me a heads up. If you want to say something about the Boreas V2 from Augvape, or you have any questions, comments, or concerns, definitely slap something in the comment section below, and I guarantee you I will get back to you in record time. Got some big things coming up for the future, for the new year, 2018. Really hope you guys are going to stick around to see it happen, because it's going to happen here first. Got some awesome big things coming up on my Instagram page as well at Vapes. Please check me out there. Follow me. Turn on those post notifications because you're not going to want to miss a lot of the stuff that I got coming up. It is epic. Epic for anybody, but more so for me and you guys. This is Vapes, your eye in that vaping sky, wishing you stay humble. You love yourselves, love each other, keep it eternally cloudy, and as always, pinky out.